Greetings, salutations. No, not salutations. Did I say that? Is that proper? Okay. Anyway, let's try it again.
Salutations. Good enough.
Okay, awesome. Greetings, everybody. Greetings. We're here. Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Death Tax and Sports Podcast, but not just any fantastic episode, folks. We are here at year 3. Yes, that's right. We are here at year 3. We're going to keep on going to year 55. That's right, year 55. But we'll talk about year 3. I'm here with my esteemed Johnson Wales colleagues and the queen of DTS, Miss Marisa Tigney. Mr. Gary Johnson got a mustache. A mustache. Gary, the legend.
We're not here to talk about the facial hair. Glad to be here.
This is great though. Like, this is great. Like, oh my God, you have a mustache. Weird. You look like you, but like with a mustache. That's great. Like we're rooting for you and we're happy for you, and that's great. And then we're here with Mr. Ben Holloway. Sir, how are you?
Doing well. Excited to chat some sports with y'all.
Yes, it's great. The Chiefs didn't three-peat. Thank the Lord. Thank everyone and all in AFC land. It is great. But before we get to that, we have to brag about someone. We have to put someone on the spot. I think she knows who I'm talking about over here. Got to talk about Miss Marisa Tigney. She did something really cool. And we don't have to talk about it forever, but we just want you to brag about all your greatness and all the good things you were doing, because we're here to celebrate you. So you got the floor and brag. It's okay.
Thank you. One, to be part of this crew, 3-year anniversary is something to be excited about. So, first and foremost, let me start off with that, and the invitation that y'all extended to me when I was originally a guest on the show, and to be part of this. I'm truly grateful and humbled by being part of this podcast. So first of all, thank you to you 3. I just recently was on television, and I never ever envisioned myself to be on television, but there is an incredible show here that come on the CW33 called The Cheryl and Vicky Show. And the weekend of the Super Bowl, I was on there talking about my show, my podcast. Jeff has been on it. Heard That with Marisa Tigney podcast. It's on Apple and Google and Spotify. And we were just talking about the backstory, how I got it started during the pandemic, and talked about, the people that I got that had the honor to talk to, conversate, to do the show live. And also had talked about my hero, Jane Kennedy, who I had the honor and privilege of interviewing 2 years ago on the show. And it was just an absolute dream to be there in the studio to talk about the podcast and talk about the projects that I'm doing and everything. And so that was a dream come true. Like I said, I never knew, something that I'm doing here in the small little corner of my home would elevate to, have an opportunity to talk about it on TV, and on a local network. So you never know who is watching. And there has been people that have a bigger platform, as well as a well-known person that I had mentioned, Jane Kennedy, who is coming out with a memoir in September. And so there is an opportunity right there to talk to her about her memoir, and another bigger platform to talk about that that'll be coming up soon. So I'm very excited and honored to see what comes up next. So
this is we're really that's super, super awesome. I am so happy for you. We're all happy for you. This is great. And we look forward to seeing you calling the NBA finals in 3 or 4 years. We're putting it out there. You're going to be on there, and we're going to have our popcorn rooting for you.
Thank you. But, you 3 are coming along for the ride. I cannot and not the person that I am without people that help me pave the way. And you 3 have done that. And this is not just any little show. For all of us, the journeys that we have been on, it's amazing. Us texting one another has been for a moment, a stress reliever of, the adulting type world that we face every single day. So I trust and believe when I say this, that yes, it is, a dream that is coming true in everything that's happening to me while I speak to you all and those that are watching the show. But I know the people that have been in my corner, and they will be coming with me. So I will keep y'all posted.
Sounds good. No, it's Ben, Gary.
Yeah, I would just say, well, first off, we appreciate your kind words there, Marisa, and we're always happy when you are able to join, because we know you have a very busy schedule. So we're always happy when you come on the show. Always bring another element to it. So thank you for your kind words, and we're happy that we extended the invite as well. It enhanced the show. I can say that very confidently. As far as where we are, I think that we have made a lot of growth from the beginning to the point of, and if we said in the previous episodes, which is fun because some podcasts have similar stories. First episode we recorded, we said, yeah, no, we can't do that. we ain't doing that. No, the first episode we recorded, and I told Jeff, like, yo, we just, no, we're not doing that. And to go from there to here, it's just the growth, the journey, and we ain't done yet. So I think it's a really good accomplishment to get to the 3 years. We're keeping rolling. Obviously, this is episode 148, so we'll have another kind of special at 150, which is not the next one, but the next one. So we'll have another little milestone to celebrate there. And I think that the journey's been good, and keep on growing and evolving. See where it takes us.
Thanks, Gary.
Just to piggyback off of what Ben was saying. You listen to episode 1 to the first anniversary, you see the evolution there from the first anniversary to the second anniversary. You saw the evolution there, and from the second one to this one, I would hope that you've seen us continue to grow. And, there's not a lot of people that I can really have these deep level conversations about sports with. So, for me personally, for the three of you, it means a lot to me that I have you guys to be able to have these conversations with. And then, to the viewing audience, thank you so much for riding along with us this whole time. Like, this is, only the beginning. There's so much more to come from the four of us, and really just simply put, stay tuned. But thank you all for the last 3 years. It's been great.
Yeah, and I think we think about where all of our lives were 3 years ago, right? And then to now, right? And we don't talk about politics. We try to keep that out, and everyone has their own views on that. But just in general, of life changes and different life circumstances. And, Tigney, it's been great having you on board. And it's just been absolutely just amazing at how all of us have met. I mean, Gary, I met you back in Mr. What's that dude's name? Mr.
Professor Morris.
Professor Morris.
Dave Morris. SCE.
Intro to SCE.
Crazy, man. I met this guy 18 years ago in September 2007 at Johnson and Wales, and then I meet Ben 3 or 4 years later, and we used to fist bump all the time at Club Hell, and now here we are today, going from fist bumping to being
Club Hell
life. And, oh man, so it's great, and Tigney, and we're gonna root for your Lions again next year. Okay, we're gonna root for them. Not Michigan, not so much. Okay. And those Buckeyes are still national champs. I still got to put that in there, but it's all good. Anyway, that's what makes sports so great, guys. And Gary and Ben, the Eagles won, and I'm sure that makes all of you just so thrilled. All right.
Yes, fly Eagles, fly right into the sun.
Destroying their city. All at that.
No, fly Eagles, fly right into the sun, like Icarus.
Yeah, but so we got into that. I didn't even say what the heck we were even going to be talking about. We have a whole show of stuff. So obviously we're celebrating our 3rd anniversary. We're going to be discussing that Super Bowl, still relevant, the NBA All-Star Weekend or lack thereof. Luka Doncic trade. Yeah, that still happens. Absolutely crazy. And other NBA trades. And I really
shout out to my Dallas people still suffering.
I really thought that was a joke. I thought that someone's ESPN Instagram got hacked. And I swore
it was like Sham's kids they took his phone and just started sending out random crap just because he sent them home or sent them to bed without dinner. That's what it felt like. I felt like he
wasn't just us. There was NBA sources like Brian Windhorst, so we all know who didn't believe it at first. NBA execs, GMs, the players, nobody believed it at first, and it's real.
It's crazy, but we'll get there. Let's get to some of my favorite segments or moments from the last 3 years. Let's get this rocking and rolling.
Let me kick that one off.
Yes, you can.
First off, I appreciate the whole Michigan and Ohio State banter that you and Marisa battle through and always have. So that's great. Now, of course, North Carolina hasn't been that good for a couple years, but me and Jeff, North Carolina Duke, it's another rivalry we can talk about and have fun with. And cool. Gary's gripes definitely has been an amazing segment and will continue to be. And then I know we did it for a while, and I feel like it had run its course. Maybe we'll bring it back, maybe not. But the trivia to me was really fun. That sports trivia that we did many times, that was a good time as well. And those would be kind of my highlights or segments / moments.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. Gary, in the Tickman?
I really had to sit and think about this, and really kind of thinking about my favorite segments or moments in the last 3 years. It's kind of like picking your favorite child. Like, it's really, really hard to do. Although, admittedly, right now for me, it's my newborn, but be that as it may. Yes, self-indulgence. So I enjoy doing the gripes, of course, but really, like, overall, I enjoy all the topics, just talking sports in general. Like, you hear different voices that, have our perspectives on these things. Like, I can't say it any better. You're right. Like, whether it's the back and forth banner with Michigan and Ohio State, you guys have the Duke and UNC banner, then we are long suffering NFC East rivals in there's so much there that's to be talked about, and we have so much fun with it that, like I said, I could not pick a single thing or moment that I could say was like a favorite, because they all kind of are very special to me each way in an equal way.
Thanks. Tigney?
I mean, anytime that you have a Gary Gripe segment, I mean, you already know you're in for a treat. Ladies and gentlemen, grab the ones that you love and cuddle them close and grab yourself a bowl of popcorn, because you know that he's going to go in, especially when he talks about his beloved New York Giants, or maybe something going on with the Los Angeles Lakers. And then, the sprinkle on the sprinkle and the cherry on top of that wonderful sports banter rant of a cupcake, you got to have a Ben Gets Loud segment and talk about the crazy things that are going on with the Dallas Cowboys and how kooky Jerry Jones is with his decision making. I mean, those are wonderful, heartwarming bedtime stories that just, put you to sleep after you take a couple of Excedrins to calm down with the headaches, because people can relate to what is being said. I love those segments because it's just basically y'all are just going unscripted, unfiltered, raw, unedited about things that are happening in the week, or, we have breaking news that happens while we're talking and all of that. And, people can relate to all of that. And obviously with the latest and greatest, not so much great that's happening here in Dallas right now. So I know that we'll get to that, but those are my favorite segments. And as well as the most important thing is that we gained a DTS nephew. Congratulations to Gary and his lovely lady in his life with another son. So that's absolutely beautiful.
Facts on facts. And, for all of that stuff. And, I feel like we're putting Gary on the spot here, but I put 2 words here: Fugazi moments, and give me 6 wins. I think that 2022, when the Giants, Daniel Jones, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 3,000 yards passing.
Oh, shoot.
And you said that's
Jeff, are you saying that they paid the wrong guy?
Yes.
What a time to be alive.
And I think it's just Gary's words of Fugazi is forever ingrained in my head.
Oh,
and
yes.
He's like, and I remember that year in 2020, he's like, just give me 6 wins. Just give me 6 wins. And then they made the playoffs. And I think that was the same year the Vikings, he said they were a Fugazi 13-win team.
They went 13-4, and it didn't feel like they were supposed to be 13-4.
Okay.
Negative point
We
differential.
sat
Literally a
here.
negative point differential.
We sat here as Giants fans and said, "Hey, 15 touchdowns, 5 picks. That's more important than having a decent running back."
Yeah.
And then we saw our decent running back go to the Super Bowl, and although he was not a factor, he still won the championship.
Yeah. These Fugazi moments, man. Yeah, that's why I just had to call him. I just haven't called him Fugazi moments because now I'm
The Giants are Fugazi too. Shoot.
Yeah, it's Fugazi. Like I never used that freaking word before. It's like freaking Fugazi. But anywho, let's keep this thing rolling here. I'm gonna switch things up here just a little bit with the agenda here, Mr. Ben Holloway. We will get to Super Bowl, but I feel like there's some excitement with NBA talk. I'm kind of feeling that. So let's first put, because I don't want to forget this, Kevin Durant. Just recently had 30,000 points. I almost got tickets to that game and I didn't go. And I'm kind of pissed that I missed that. But anyway, that's besides the point. Kevin Durant. Tiffany, toss it to you. Then Ben.
How did you not go?
Because I look, it was just
Sir.
It was a Tuesday.
30,000 points only happens once in a while.
I didn't realize.
I don't care how tired you are.
I didn't realize
you got to
it.
muster up the strength.
I'm tired. I was working.
So, Jeff, you brought up the name, but you didn't even ask.
I'm getting there. Hi, Ben. Hi. I'm getting there. I am getting there. This isn't a Broadway show, I promise.
Get it,
30,000 points. Where do we have Kevin Durant amongst the all-time greats? Because I feel that this is a conversation as his career is winding down. I definitely think we all think top 20. But where?
I agree in the top. I would say top 15.
Okay.
I'd be bold enough to say top 15. But there's so many facets of Kevin Durant, gentlemen, that we could highlight. His early career days, when he transitioned to OKC, when he went and literally, people say that, I don't know why people think that he stole 2 championships just to get away from Russell Westbrook. It's the dumbest thing that I've ever seen posted on social media. He was a key contributor for those championships, so I don't care what anybody says. And then we have him right now currently with the Phoenix Suns. So my question is, off of the question you just asked me, is like, which of his throughout his career, and Ben, you know the numbers because you're a numbers guy, what part of Durant's journey is the best? Is it when he went to the Warriors to get, he won a couple of championships? Was it the beginning stages of his career when he came fresh off of, the University of Texas? I mean, we could look at so many different things as far as that is concerned of his career. I think he is in the top 15. Top 10, no.
Okay.
I think there's 14 other players better than him, in my opinion. And I know probably people get at me about that, but
okay. All right now.
Because what is he, 36?
Yeah, he's 30. Yeah, he's a year older than me.
30.
In September. He's
he's too much. Yeah, he's too much younger than 36. Yeah.
36. Okay. And he's still got some basketball left in him. So.
And Ben, I feel like you got some numbers.
No, honestly, not really on this one.
What?
Ben
doesn't have numbers?
Not on this one. I just on this. I got numbers with our other topics. Don't worry.
Okay.
But on this one here, I think to me, I would say somewhere in the somewhere in the 10 to 15 range. I would say, maybe 12 to 15. I will say that he's number 6 all time points per game, 27.26, which interestingly 6 is him and LeBron's 7. So 6th most points per game out of anybody in the NBA history is impressive. But to me, it's just 2 series, right? But You got swept in the first round twice, and not with bad teams. You had Kyrie and James Harden. One series you get swept, and then 2 years ago, I believe, or last year with the Suns, with Beal and Beal and Booker and KD healthy, swept. That I mean, yeah, LeBron got swept in the finals. We're talking about
Mm-hmm.
2 sweeps in the first round with not 8 seeds and bad teams. Like those are on his resume. They can't be removed. And to me, that's part of his story. And the other part is he seems to jump ship when things get tough.
See,
And
I was going to say that too.
you can't ignore that. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
just wanted to leave the Suns just now, just 2 weeks ago. Wanted to be out of the Suns. Why? Because he's been there for 2.5 years or so, and that hasn't worked. So let me go somewhere else. Couldn't beat Golden State. Blew a 3-1 lead in the Western Conference Finals to them. 2 months later, you got Draymond and Curry basically pleading and begging right after they lost to the Cavs. So he goes over there. Then he wants to go play with his boy Kyrie. That has to be one of the worst decisions a basketball player's ever made, to choose to play with Kyrie over Curry. That's on his resume. And then, now he ends up on the Suns. It's just, he's been in more places than LeBron, or maybe the same amount of teams, but LeBron has always done it at the end of a contract. It's never been a trade request. It's never been a trade. It's always when he was a free agent. And
Kevin Durant, sorry to interrupt your point, and that's what I was going to say, what I said. Kevin Durant, even though he has those championships, and that's great, and even though he was named the MVP, and giving a shout out to his mama in that beautiful speech, Kevin Durant is going to be forever known as kind of similar to like a runaway bride. And you brought out that point too, Ben. He's going to be comfortable on a team, and then when it doesn't fit to his agenda, and he's not happy with the surroundings, he's not happy with the management, he runs to the next thing. That's why people were very critical when he did win the championship with the Warriors. Basically, people were like, that's because you got too scared and you ran away from OKC to this team. Now you collected your 2 championships. You and Draymond can't get along. You're not liking the vibe that's happening there. Yes, Steph is your bestie for resty, but you're not liking the feng shui, if you will, of what is surrounding you. And so you run off to the next. And what my low point of his career is, you had 3 All-Stars, him, Westbrook, and James Harden. And those were the 3 before the current team that you have right now at OKC. OKC should be sitting with a ring, and it should have been contributed by them 3. That still is going to be forever a head scratcher to me.
Yeah, that's mainly because that's going way back to when LeBron got his first championship. But
2012.
That's mainly because, or not mainly, all because the Thunder owner, and maybe he's still this way as well, did not want to pay any luxury tax at all.
Yes, ego.
Wasn't so he couldn't keep all 3, so he traded Harden. But the other part on KD, and I know I've gone a while, so I'll let Gary go. But he's also, this isn't like basketball and on the court wise, but he's possibly the most sensitive superstar in sports history.
Burner account.
Like every tiny little thing gets to him. So I know that doesn't matter where he is all the time, but it has to be said. He's extremely sensitive as a superstar. So, Gary, the floor is yours.
A long time ago, I said that Kevin Durant might be, and he's kind of solidified it now with 30,000 points. He's the greatest journeyman player ever. Like he's successful to an extent everywhere he goes, but like you guys nailed on that. He doesn't stay anywhere long. His longest trip, his longest tenure with the team was with Oklahoma City. And once he got the freedom of going elsewhere and being able to play and do his thing, he's the type that, he doesn't want the drama. He doesn't really want to do too much. He just wants to just get to the craft. He just wants to play ball And it seems like he just doesn't care where he plays ball. He just wants to play. I mean, yes, he wants to win, but he got his championships. So at this point, I really think for him, it's just like playing for the love of the game. I see similarities in him and Vince Carter, where it was more like, I'm just playing for the love of the game. I don't care where I play. Because if Katie was serious about winning championships and making that part of his legacy, he would have never left Golden State. We would still be talking about a run of championships to this day with him still in one of their uniforms. This is somebody that just loves basketball, and good for him. And that's not, I'm not here to cast aspersions on that or knock him for it, but like, you can't sit there and put him in that upper echelon with the Birds, with the Magics, with the Jordans, because yes, Jordan played for the Wizards, but like, did he? Like, otherwise, like, the names that I mentioned, these are players that did it and stayed with a team. They minimized their movements. I want to kind of include Shaq in that, even though yes, he did play for several different teams. Like, he also invested a long time in his first two places. So it's kind of like, yeah, like I said, Durant is the greatest journeyman player ever. Like, I think that can be said about him. Like, wherever he goes, he wants to just play basketball and be successful at that. But don't sit here and tell me that he is one of the great champions, because he's not.
Where you got him all time?
I guess 12 on the list. Like,
Okay.
he like, there's enough argument for him to be like 10 in the top 10, but like fairly, I would say 12.
There you go.
And for me, like, if how you define someone's greatness, like whether they're their top 10, like, I think there are a collection of 12 to 13 players that if you gave me a rather convincing argument that they're in, like, you can make a compelling argument that, okay, you have Kobe as a top 5 player. I don't have top 5, I'm top 10, but I could rock with that because I think that he meets the requirements, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have Steph Curry in top 10 because he needed at least one Finals MVP. Now he has that. Now I can say, okay, right? But I look at every player that's in the top 10. I feel like every player that's in the top 10 has at least one regular season MVP, has at least 2 NBA championships, has 5 or more All-Star appearances, several All-NBA team appearances, and has at least one Finals MVP. Kevin Durant has all of that. And even though he went to Golden State, he was still the Finals MVP, and he was still the best player on those 2 championship teams. And I don't really think they would have won. Maybe they could have, but I really don't think that they really would have had a greater chance to win if it wasn't for Kevin Durant, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I look at the collective sum of his career, and he's had a very great career, right? He has a top 10 rated type of career, right? Like, with players, you have to look at the collective sum. And I think that no matter which player that you look at, right, there's always going to be certain things that might be like an asterisk, right? It's like, Kobe Bryant, he has those 2 Finals MVPs after Shaq, right? Shaq won the other 3. Kobe only has 1 regular season MVP. LeBron is 4 and 6 in the NBA Finals. Hell, even Jordan left for 2 years, So not every player, there's no such thing as like a perfect record, right? But I think that he meets the mark of a truly great player, being, I think, in the top 12 or scoring now, and has over 30,000 points and has played over 15 seasons. So as far as longevity, you can make a very compelling argument for me to have him in the top 10. I personally don't, but I have him at like 12 or 13. But overall, he's had a great career.
Collectively, we all answered between 12 and 15.
Yeah.
So, great minds think alike.
He's a Hall of Famer. Like, I think that's the easiest thing that can be said. He's a Hall of Famer. He will go down as one of the all-time greats, but at the same time, it's hard to call him one of the all-time great champions because he was never consistent. He had a loaded roster to get it done.
Gary, the only thing that I have about Hall of Fame with NBA with basketball is that I feel it's kind of tainted because you have teams in the Hall of Fame for basketball and you don't have that for any other sport. I think the NBA needs to have its own Hall of Fame to make it a little bit more prestigious. I'm not saying that being a Nate Smith Hall of Famer is still not like great, but I don't think it's when you're saying like a basketball Hall of Famer, do you really think it's as special versus being like an NFL Hall of Famer, MLB Hall of Famer? Like, serious question.
Because you don't hear a Nate Smith top 50 or a Nate Smith top 75. Nate Smith 100. You hear NBA top 25, NBA 50, then recently the NBA 75. So I agree with you on that point.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, if you're an NBA top 75, I think that holds more prestige versus being a Nate Smith Hall of Famer. Hell, my left toe could be in the Nate Smith Hall of Fame. I mean, I make a couple layups, then boom, it's done. All right.
Here's your gold jacket.
And I'm gonna say KD. I'm gonna say KD over Dirk. Who's got Dirk or KD?
I mean, if you're looking at totality, if you look at them, like, how much difference is there between the two? Besides, like, obviously, KD has more points than Dirk, but like, one MVP, multiple time All-Star,
one championship versus two, right? I mean, that's it, right?
Yeah, he's got one championship versus two.
But beyond that, like, really, what is the great difference between those two?
Dirk stayed on one team.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, it's a valid question and point, Gary, for sure.
Yeah, hey, I can't.
That's all. I'm not like, there's enough argument for both sides where you can say KD or Dirk. It's just like, I'm looking at them, and if I close my eyes, or if you just put their stats side by side on a table and didn't label it, you can make an argument. Hell, if you said Dirk scored 30,000 career points, I wouldn't bat an eye at that. I'm like, yeah, that seems about right.
Yeah, no, can't be mad at that at all. Can't. All right, let's keep this thing rolling, guys. Gary, I gave you some time with this Luka thing. I need you to give me 3 words, but there's Luka trade. But we also want to focus on the impact of the Lakers for this season as well as the future. I think it's more so about the future, but we'll get this thing rolling here. Gary, I'm going to toss it to you. 3 words to describe the trade, but then just overall thoughts, and then gang jump in.
Okay, so 3 words to describe the trade.
Give me something good.
Why Dallas? Why?
Okay, we'll take that.
Because, for me, again, we all said at the very beginning, I thought that Shams Charania's phone was just hacked, or somebody took his phone and was just sending out random tweets of trades that they love to see, but know full well that it would never happen. And then you see, we were watching the Knicks Lakers game. It was on ABC, and then you turn to SportsCenter, and it's like, oh, that's why Anthony Davis didn't play. He's been traded to the Dallas Mavericks for Luka. What? Like, if you're the Lakers, you of course take that trade. You've now secured your brand name player for the next decade if he stays healthy and has a trajectory that the majority of people safely assume that he will. One thing that the Lakers have always had is a transcendent superstar on their roster. And they picked that up real easily when they realized Anthony Davis is a bit too old. But hey, Luka, yeah, he might be a little doughy. Who isn't? But he can still score. He may not be the flashiest or the fastest, but Larry Bird was not the flashiest, the fastest, but he was a hell of a scorer. What's the difference? Like, for the Lakers, it is a long-term move. They aren't going to go to the finals this year. All this might have done was secure them a top 6 seed in the West. That's about it. And then if you're Dallas, I mean, the trade was already controversial to begin with. But then you lose Anthony Davis damn near immediately, and then just injury after injury after injury. It's like, now you're looking at Nico Collins and just going, what the hell? Like, why? Why did you submarine the season where, it's not like Dallas didn't go to the finals last year. It's not like, Luka was an All NBA first team player, and if I'm not mistaken, either he was the scoring champion or he was in second, something like that. He one of the top
Yeah.
5 scorers in the league last year. And you traded him for some magic beans, basically. You said Anthony Davis and Max Christie and 1 draft pick. Like, when you consider that the Knicks gave up, what was it, 5 picks for Mikal Bridges?
Mm-hmm.
The Knicks gave up the farm for Mikal Bridges, and you didn't give up. The Lakers had to go into their back pocket, and whatever was in there plus AD was going to be enough. Like, it seems like office malpractice. It seems like front office malpractice on Dallas's part. It makes me feel like they're not trying to spend money, and it doesn't matter. I don't think they're being sold. I don't think they're being moved. I just think they're trying to be frugal, and in doing so, you've submarined your team where 5 years from now, the Lakers are going to still be championship contenders. You're probably going to be in the lottery.
Let's jump in. That definitely is a good question.
My three words are: owners got petty. You can't get your casino. You can't get your way here in Dallas. The mayor here in Dallas will not allow you to make your little casino by American Airlines Arena. So what do you do behind the ownership with the puppet strings that you have on Nico Harrison? You send him to Los Angeles to meet up with Rob Pelinka. And here's the thing. If you're well known in this industry, as well as you've been on television many of times, and you go to a restaurant and y'all are meeting, doggone well there's going to be someone with a camera that's going to be nearby. And they're going to see the meeting that y'all are going to have. And what happened after this whole trade went down? People put up the evidence of photos and video of them having a conversation over lunch. Possibly, it seemed like 99% of it was the possibility of the trade that now got this whole entire city in the mood that it's in, and forever will be in the mood that it's in. That's getting fans kicked out just because they're saying fire Nico. That's getting the owners, every time they walk into the side, they get booed. And every time that Mark Cuban's face, who sold 73% of his share of this team, he gets booed. They can overcome this if they ended before the All-Star game and picked up where they started, starting Wednesday. If this young team, with the veteran presence of Kyrie, and hopefully Derek Lively II will come back, and Gaffney will come back soon, and AD will hopefully come back soon. But this team, this core that they have right now, if they can continue to somehow, literally what they're doing, gentlemen, is limping from game to game and just somehow being scrappy and digging down deep and getting these wins, because I think they were 2 or 4 or 2 or 3 or 5 or something like that going right into the All-Star break. I think it will somewhat subside the craziness that's going on here. But alas, the 25th, Dallas goes to LA, but the big game, mark it on the calendar, is April 9th. Los Angeles comes here to Dallas. And, they're going to do the whole tribute video and all that other stuff. But people are really wanting Luka to go off in front of his former team, the former crowd that adored him so much. It's going to be something to behold, gentlemen. So we'll see. We shall see, especially on this end of a lot of very hurt, angry, upset,
we had a funeral,
pissed off Dallas Mavericks fans. And, of course, the bottom line took a hit. About $3.5 million hit of refunded tickets.
And Ben, it's crazy. It's like, Tigney, because you live in Dallas, it's like, I think it just makes it that just much more like just interesting hearing it from your perspective, because you're hearing it every day and you're hearing it in the radio stations. And you're in the line at like the Starbucks and you're hearing those people talk about those things. I mean, you just don't realize like how local sports is and how sensitive
this is
that way. But Dallas fans,
this is a cut that's deep. Jeff. This is a cut that's deep. It doesn't matter how many stitches you put on it and how much antiseptic you put on it. It doesn't matter. It somehow finds its way to reopen every single time. When people drive past the American Airlines Arena, when people saw and took video of the posters and all the awnings and stuff of Luka being pulled down and AD's being put up, and then AD's first game, and he only played 3 quarters until he ended up getting hurt. So it's just like that on top of, this whole trade and then the ownership and then people pointing fingers, fans getting kicked out. They took down the whole entire, literally up front. And I wish I would have got a photo of it, but they blocked everything off. There's all the fired Nico and all the murals and everything else and the coffin in front of the whole thing of, how the Mavericks literally killed the dreams of many people who were diehard fans. They were all in front of the arena, and all of that is gone now. Literally, as if Luka didn't exist.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's like I get that you don't want to pay him or whatever, but you got to think about from a business sense, it doesn't make any sense to me, right? Because for me, it's like, okay, yes, you're paying that $345 to him, but the money that you're going to make in TV revenue, in fans, in tickets at the gate, the food, the beverages, Gary, Ben, we're putting our SCE hats on again, right? We're thinking about all of that revenue, just as a business mind, you think about all that revenue that you're making. It's like when the Dodgers signed Ohtani to that $1 billion, to that $700 million contract, that is the future revenue that they're going to make is going to pay for it in itself times 5. Right, spring training games here for Dodgers games, $150 a ticket just for spring training. Okay, that's how much of a draw is. But I'm going to wrap this up. I think this is almost as big as 2008 when the Seattle SuperSonics left to go to OKC. I think it's that big where it's going to be something where they're going to be talking about this 10, 15 years from now. Even in Seattle, people are still talking about when they left. There's big moments. Ben, we got to do a segment on the top 10 biggest sports moments in the last
life-changing.
Yeah, life-changing, right? And
we'll always remember those.
Yeah, it's 9/11. Where were you when 9/11 happened? It's where were you when this happened, right? We got to do that for the 150th episode. Let's do it. Put it down. Mark it. But it's just crazy. I mean, I think for me is the haul that you didn't get, right? You look at what the Knicks got for Mikal Bridges, right? If I'm the Mavericks and I really want to trade him, I would have marketed it to everyone saying, hey, we're open for business. And you would have gotten an even greater haul. I just think that it was just very, Max Christie's a cute, adorable little story. He's getting better, but it's Max Christie. And then you got, Anthony Davis, who got lucky by playing, 60 plus games for the first time, and Lord knows how long now he's injured. And then you have a 2029 first round pick. If you're going to trade a player like that, you need to put him on the market and you need to get the best haul that you possibly can. And
look at what the Kings got the next day for De'Aaron.
They got a haul. They got a haul.
And De'Aaron Fox is a great player. But Luka is better. Luka is.
What was it, Ben? Was it 6 picks? 6 or 7 picks?
3 first-round picks and 3 second-round picks. And Zach LaVine.
And Mavericks got 2029 and Magic Beans and a bushel of weed.
Could you ever imagine if the Spurs got Luka to go with Wemby? You know how dangerous that would have been?
That would have been dangerous.
That would have been dangerous.
Seriously.
Right, that's done. Okay,
I'll give it to Ben. Let me give it to Ben. But this last point, and the point you said brilliantly, Jeff, about Luka is a little bit pudgy and all this other stuff, and he's thick. But so was Sean Kemp. So was Arvydas Sabonis. Charles Barkley. So was Mark Aguirre. You had the size. People back then didn't care about the size of it, but they could produce the points. They could get points under the paint. They could defend. They can block and everything else. So for them to sit there, Ben, to sit there and say that it is a culture thing and that he's not putting in the work and all this other stuff. Again, it boils down to what these owners want, and it's basically they want to put their little doggone casino by the American Airlines Arena. So it will not surprise me, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 to 3 years' time, if all of a sudden we wake up and we go from the Dallas Mavericks to the Las Vegas Mavericks.
I think it's going to happen.
Yeah,
I think it's going to happen.
I really thought it would have been Sacramento, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah, facts. Ben, take it away, and then let's and then lead off the Super Bowl, sir.
I think a lot of points have been said already. I mean, Luka is 25 years old, 5 years in a row was voted by the media as one of the 5 best players in the entire league. First team All-Pro does 5 guys. So that means one of the best 5 players 5 years straight. And they got 1 first-round pick. Yeah, you got
in 2029.
But you got 1 first-round pick for that guy. And De'Aaron Fox is a really good player. He's not as accomplished, and he's not as good as Luka. And the Kings got 6 draft picks literally the next day. Almost like a slap in the face to Dallas. Like, this is what you should have gotten. We got it the next day, so we know what the hell we're doing, and you don't. So that's on the Mavericks perspective. They didn't get nearly as much as they should have. From the Lakers perspective, you asked for 3 words. I summarize it in 2 for the Lakers. No brainer. Take this deal 100 times out of 100. Like, you needed a transition after LeBron because we know, he's got 2 years tops left. I don't think he has any interest in trying to be Brady and being in the professional league until 45. I don't think that's a goal of his. So I think 41, 42, that'll be that. So the Lakers needed somebody next. Luka, there's your guy. And then to the money, who's to say that Luka wouldn't have signed for like $280 million with the Mavs? Then you would save like $60 million. But you telling me he would turn down like $280 million? Like when the maximum the Lakers can give him, which would have been the same that any team could give him if you decide to leave, it's $219 million. So you're telling me he wouldn't take like 280 from the Mavs?
And I'm sure
he didn't need to pay him the full 350. You didn't need. I know he
would have. I know he would have. Why? And why I say that, Ben? This man just bought a home here.
That's what I'm saying.
It was wanting to raise his child and his future children here. He established not just the fans, but the community loves him.
Yeah, and we're talking about he is number 2 all time in playoff points per game and number 3 all time in regular season points per game. I mean, this is who we're talking about. They got 1 draft pick for that guy. Like,
he's an all-time great.
And then we thought the whole Chris Middleton going to the island of misfit players, aka the Washington Wizards, was bad until this happened.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we did a lot here and an excellent conversation. But even though it was a couple weeks ago, the Super Bowl is still relevant, and there's a couple of topics we want to hit. The first one, I kind of lead off. I kind of proposed it. Can the Eagles win another 2 Super Bowls, which would match KC's 3? Can they win 2 in the next 5 years to equal the 3? And I say absolutely yes, they can. You have 2 rookie cornerbacks. Well, now going to be second-year corners, but 2 great corners. The QB position is clearly figured out. We'll get to that in a second in a little bit more detail. You got 2 great receivers who are paid for the next 2 or 3 years. Mm-hmm. And you got arguably the best general managers / executives in the entire league in Howie Roseman. So you're set up for success. And I think that they definitely can win another 2. I don't think there's any question about that. Gary, I'll toss it to you on that one.
Can they? Yes. Will they? No. And it has very little to do with the makeup of that team. They are built to win, multiple championships. But there's something weird about the NFC East where nobody has sustained success long term. yes, they've had back-to-back, they've won the division back-to-back years, but like you see Washington's nipping on their heels. You see that Dallas, like at some point, is going to have to right the ship. The same thing about the Giants. Like at some point, that ship's going to have to be righted, and it's like, are you going to be that far ahead? Those steps ahead of everybody else. And history has shown me, no, like they haven't really been where like let's look at the last. Like I'm just looking up right now. If we look up the 2019 Philadelphia Eagles, I believe, yes, they got to the playoffs, but then they sat here and lost to the Seahawks in the wild card. Like I can see this Eagles team doing the exact same thing in 2025, where they should be better, but they're going to be a team that wins 9 or 10 games because they get fat off the lamb and get lazy or complacent because they're coming off that Super Bowl high, or the Super Bowl hangover rather. And they could lose to an NFC South team who just happens to be hot at the right time, or a team like a Green Bay who, is better, but they still have question marks in there. And like, there is room for long-term success in Philly. I just fear that, their track record is going to come back to catch up with them yet again.
For our Tussie Tierney, I'm going to say I wrote 3 things down here. Saquon, his health, NFC, juggernaut, Ben Johnson. Ladies and gentlemen, I really think Ben Johnson's the real deal, and I really think he's going to turn Caleb Love's career around, even though, it wasn't like a terrible year. But I really think Ben Johnson is really going to make this team a truly, truly great team in the next 2 to 3 years. I look at, I don't know. I just got a feeling. And when you look at just pound for pound the NFC, you look at the NFC North, that division is still going to be one of the top, if not the top division next year. And then you got the Bears even going to be even better because they have competent coaching now. Thank God. Well, not thank God, because we're Lions fans in this group.
I like that you said we. Thank you.
But whenever they're not playing our Giants, Broncos, or Cowboys, we are Lions fans because that's what we do. But I just think that NFC is just going to be a juggernaut. And I look at the way that last year was and how it finished last year. There were certain instances at the beginning of this year where there were little murmurs of Sirianni being fired, right? They caught lightning in a bottle. They were 13 yards away from losing to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for me, I think they got lucky against the Rams because I had the Rams beating them. They relied on 3 runs for Saquon, where if Saquon didn't break away for one of those 3 runs, we could have talked about a completely different team being Super Bowl champions. And I think that, to Gary's point, I think that the Chiefs were Fugazi 16-1 and really were not that good because the refs cheated for them. And so, the refs decided to take a break and decided to give it to the Eagles. So, when you look at that, pretty bad. I don't know. I don't think they even win it next year. I don't. I just think they had a couple things go their way. It could have been a completely different story.
It's going to be very competitive next year, gentlemen. We don't have, and I think we talked about it, and I had mentioned it on my platform. This is not, in my humblest opinion, not a strong draft class coming out, especially in quarterbacks. So it's not a strong draft class at all. So what's going to end up being is that we're going to find, once again, rounds 3 through 5, we're going to find some diamonds in the rough that's going to fit into some of these core pieces. Some of these teams are already, looking at the schedules and looking who they have, they're ready to run it back. As far as the Eagles are concerned, you got, Brandon Graham, which we think this is his final like he won a ring. He's going to ride off into the sunset. You got Lane Johnson that's got question marks around him. See if he's going to end up staying. So that's more of their defensive, offensive core that are going to be losing. So the Eagles do have key pieces. Cooper DeJean getting that pick, in my humblest opinion, and no offense to Jalen Hurts whatsoever, he could have been MVP. Their kicker could have been MVP. I believe that we need to stop, and this is a side note, and I'm going to go back to my point. We need to stop giving MVPs always to quarterbacks. It's becoming the high-priced Heisman Trophy, where it's convenient to give the trophy to the quarterback. And they need to stop that because, like I said, Jake Elliott could have been MVP, which would have shattered the glass ceiling of finally a kicker being noticed as an MVP, which would have been the first time ever in history. Cooper DeJean with that pick 6 as a rookie on his birthday, running it back. And Patrick Mahomes has never thrown an interception in the Super Bowl, and that was his first one. So the Eagles team is primed and definitely possibly going to have a chance to run it back. It's going to piss me off, and I'm ready for it when they announce that week 1 is probably going to be the Lions at Eagles. Let me brace myself for impact because the Lions has a very difficult road schedule. So they literally pretty much amped it up since they went undefeated on the road. And, we got certain key pieces coming back. And then the question in the air is if Myles Garrett is going to be part of the Lions organization. I know they'll have to give up an arm, a leg, a car, a Lambo, a mansion. And, there was a really crop of good people in the free agency to make that happen. Who knows? But as far as I agree wholeheartedly with Gary, I see this Eagles team as talented. I don't think that they will be that team that will repeat. Again, not taken away from, Howie Roseman, which hopefully he's recovered after somebody threw a bottle at his head at the parade.
So just another Friday.
Right. But, who knows, gentlemen? I think, again, next season is going to be wide open and a new team will capture it. I don't know if it'll be the Chiefs. I think it'll be somebody else that will, definitely make a run. And as Jeff brilliantly put it, yes, there is a lot of salty Lions fans out there for Ben Johnson going to the Chicago Bears. I knew he was going to go to the Chicago Bears. People thought that he was going to go to the Saints. I was like, wouldn't it be just more competitive in the NFC if the student left the teacher and went and ran his own crew, and literally you had a up-and-coming quarterback that is ready to learn, and all the knowledge that we saw when you was with the Lions, he is definitely going to mold Caleb Williams into the finest vase right there on the potter's wheel of quarterback in for the Chicago Bears. Lions fans hate it. I want to hate it, but I love it because the NFC North once again is now tougher for within them 4 teams when they compete against one another. I think once again they'll get down to the last game. Don't think that one team is going to run away with it like it did this past season. I think it's going to get down to where it's going to be a couple of teams down to the last game to win it.
Back no facts. It's going to be. I think next year is going to be it's going to be very fun to watch. There's going to be a lot of good football, but I know we say this every year, but I just have a feeling that next year is going to be one of the most grueling gauntlets, and we're not going to have a truly great team next year. I really think on both the AFC and NFC side, there's a good 6 or 7 teams on both sides that have a chance to win it. And when you look at that team from Denver, especially next year, I really think they're going to come out the AFC and win the Super Bowl. That's my hot take. Broncos are going to win the Super Bowl. But anyway, not about my Broncos. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Broncos has got a good team. You have a quarterback.
That
is, I mean,
football.
This is a dream. This is a dream for Sean Payton. This is an absolute dream for Sean Payton. Again, he has not had somebody that has been that good since when? Who? Yeah. Drew Brees. Mm-hmm. When they won the championship at New Orleans. So Bo Nix is coming at the right time, to the right team, to the right coach.
Oh yeah, indeed.
Speaking of quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts. How does his performance, how do we look at him and kind of legacy-wise and all that jazz? For me, I got a little bit of numbers here. The last 3 playoffs, 6-2 record, 2 Super Bowl appearances, 1 Super Bowl win, 1 Super Bowl MVP. In those 8 games, which is 6-2, he has a total of 19 touchdowns and 2 turnovers. 8 games. 19 touchdowns, 9 TD passes, 10 rushing touchdowns, 1 interception, 1 fumble. So 19 touchdowns and 2 turnovers in 8 playoff games. I don't know. That's pretty good. Pretty sure that's performing really well. And 2 Super Bowls in the last 3 years and arguably outplayed Mahomes in the previous Super Bowl. clearly did this time around. So you can say Burrow and Lamar and Josh Allen are more talented, and you'd probably be right in saying that. But Hurts has accomplished more. So to me, I mean, he's proven that he is a really clutch player, and clearly at quarterback that matters. No moment is too big for him, and I think that honestly, and he might never admit it, but that benching in the national championship game will always have a chip on his shoulder. Always. You got a head coach in the most important game of the season saying, we're not going to win with you. We're going to win with him. And then he does that. So to me, that will always be a chip and motivational for Jalen Hurts. And like I said, Burrow, Lamar can say they have more talent and probably be right in saying that, but it's about winning. Jalen Hurts has won a hell of a lot the last couple of years. And so for me, it just kind of cements him as somewhere in the number 4 through number 7 range of QBs in the NFL right now. And as far as clutch quarterbacks, I mean, he's got to be top 2 or top 3 in the playoff. So for me, that it's a big deal that he was able to perform this well and win. And it significantly changes, I think, how he's looked, at least in my eyes.
And real quick, before I toss something to you, the thing is that he performed when Saquon didn't even have a game. Saquon was a no-show. Okay, they game planned for him, opened it up for Jalen Hurts. And I think that just makes it even that much more impressive, where they didn't have to rely on Saquon, who literally has been their best weapon. And then I think, secondly, he doesn't need to win another ring, right? Like, I don't know if he's going to be considered a Hall of Fame type player, maybe, right? But I think for him, I think for him, it's about winning it one time. Like, I think he can win another championship in the next 5 years. But if he never wins it again, like, he's sealed the deal. Like, to me, it's just doing it once. For Lamar, it's about doing it once. For Josh Allen, it's about doing it once. And then if you can get a couple, cool. But for him, he's on that level, maybe just a slight level below Pat Mahomes as far as the it quarterbacks, because he's got that ring. Rest of them catching up.
I love that there's some players on that team that's got chips on their shoulders because of things that happened to them. You all mentioned Jalen Hurts. We also got to mention their backup quarterback. He got dumped by Pittsburgh for bringing Justin Fields to open up some money for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett has a championship before the rest of those guys on the Pittsburgh Steelers because the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't want him. The New York Football Giants is punching air forever because they didn't sign Saquon. I know, Gary, it hurts. It really does. But this is like 3 or 4 or 5 players on there that literally have in their mind their previous employer or a past memory of being rejected, and they turned that into a determination, if you will, and they rode off into the sunset and became champions. Kenny Dang Pickett. Who would have had that on their big on card? Not me.
He's got that ring. He does.
Yep.
He took the final knee of the game. Like, if you're the Steelers, you're just like, that has to hurt. Like, no doubt, like I said, Saquon was a non-factor in the game. So I think for Giants fans, it stings a little bit less because it's like, all right, at least he wasn't Super Bowl MVP. Yes, it sucks because it's, our division rival winning again. But, as far as Saquon and the Giants, yes, as I texted everybody after the game, every Giants fan is giving the ill side eye to Joe Shane. Like, so let me get this right. You let Saquon walk and you decide to roll with Daniel Jones. You then decide to release Daniel Jones, let him go to Minnesota. So Minnesota had a team in the playoffs, so now you watch your starting quarterback from last season, your starting running back from last season be on playoff-bound teams, and you're stuck where you're stuck.
And you're in Cabo.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
Tom check. Ben, I know you got the other two. Let's let's run these down. These other three if we can, because I want to get to.
We can go the next three Super Bowl things. We'll all go in 1 minute or less. We'll answer every question. Every question. Number one, Saquon had the best season ever by a running back. Yes, I'll say. In quick given time, I won't even go into the stats.
Agreed. Next.
Yes.
What'd you say?
Yeah. I think we all agree.
Yeah.
Mahomes overtake Brady as the GOAT. I got one. I still think yes. One stat
that Stephen A. Smith had said last week, which I think is very noticeable. The Super Bowl losses that Tom Brady had were never blowouts. They were one possession games. The point differential between the losses with Mahomes have been blowouts. So, and he's been literally non-factors. They've been by 15 points or more in both of the Super Bowl losses. Don't correct me on all the stats. So with that, I think that the number of championships has even increased even more. He's going to have to get to like probably 6. Whereas if that point differential was maybe a little bit different, I think he could rock with maybe 4. But that's all I'm going to say.
I'll simply say this. How many times did Brady lose in the Super Bowl? 3 times. How many times has Mahomes lost in the Super Bowl? Twice. There's time. He's had his 2 worst games at the most inopportune times. Yes, that's an undisputable fact. That's true. Like he's picked the 2 worst times to have an awful game. But what we're not going to do is completely ignore the rest of the body of work. Like,
not doing that.
No, but I'm saying but I've heard enough not from you guys, but there's been enough talk like, oh, he can't be the GOAT, this, that, and the third. It's like, let's look at Brady for a second. 1, after winning back-to-back championships, he went 10 years without a championship.
And then people don't want to bring that up.
Nobody
because
ever
they want to look
about
at the overall 7 rings that he's won with 2 organizations.
From 2005 to 2015, Tom Brady, yes, went to the Super Bowl twice, but produced 0 championships and, in fact, lost more times in the divisional round than getting to the Super Bowl itself. Nobody talks about that. Patrick Mahomes has gotten to at least the AFC Championship every single season that he's been the starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs.
And ladies and gentlemen, he's not even 30 yet and has all that hardware.
Like, I'm sorry, like the GOAT talk, it's very much alive and well. Yes, he had 2 very bad games in the Super Bowl, but like, it's a team sport, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I still think he can do it, but it's just saying. All right, let's keep this thing rolling.
Quick hitters. So we'll go 5 minutes on the next 2 topics. Leave plenty of time. Oh, I forgot SEC. Let All-Star Weekend.
Let's just wrap the Super Bowl up because it's been a week.
No. Super Bowl's over. All-Star Weekend. We'll just go with the 2 questions. How does LeBron get blamed for the dunk contest going downhill, and how can the NBA incentivize players to do the dunk contest? For me, yes, he deserves some blame for the dunk contest never doing it. Not at this age, but when he was younger. And number 2, right now the prizes for the dunk contest: $100,000 to the winner, $50,000 to second place, $25,000 to third place. My solution: make first place $3 million, second place $1.5 million, and third place $50,000. You could say that's crazy money, but you guaranteed superstars will go for that money. And the NBA has billions and billions and billions of dollars. They won't do it. Could they do it financially? Absolutely. So for me, you want superstars to go, money talks. $3 million is a nice little payout. Guarantee you'll get some stars in that dunk contest. You increase that payout. So
Tidney, I'm gonna throw a stat to you real quick. 2 hours and 26 minutes of commercials and other stuff, and 33 minutes of just basketball. That's what I saw. That's
I
almost
understand that we
that's
need to
also-
pay the bills and you need to promote items and everything else. And then the whole sentimental segment of, giving the four guys that has brought us laughter and a lot of shtick comedy, but also brought us some sports, bringing Ernie, Jet, Shaq and Chuck on, the forefront, while all of that was a great moment. Could it have been reserved at the end? Yes, but it was brought. They were brought up in. It was really nice. Some nice words that Kevin Hart had said to them and everything else. Because this is basically the swan song before NBC takes over again with the NBA. And shout out to Reggie Miller. Reggie Miller will be going and being one of the main commentary announcers over there on NBC. So
I think it's supposed to be him and Mike Tirico is supposed to be like
Mike Tirico. Yeah,
it's supposed to be, or so your A team broadcasters. Those two.
Yeah. Did Kevin Harlan? Did I read something about him too? Isn't Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller supposed to stay?
His contract is Harlan's contract's not up just yet, so I don't know. But I know that the goal of NBC was to pair Tirico and Reggie Miller together.
Okay, yeah.
And I think there might be a third person that they put together, but at least that the A team, like with Turner has Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller, it would be Mike Tirico and Reggie Miller on that end.
Yeah. So that was great. I was surprised to see how much time was utilized with the basketball thing versus the actual non-basketball. And that's, I mean, Jeff and Ben and Gary, at the beginning, middle, and end of the day, it is a business. There's so many of these companies. It's kind of like the Super Bowl. How much money was spent to pay for an ad, and now with the use of AI, implementing their ad, their product, what they're trying to sell, their message and all of that stuff. People want it to go back to the way it was. It's never going to go back to the way it was. People are, putting all their commercials and everything out there and trying to entice us as the consumer. And they, oh yeah, by the way, there's a basketball game, or oh yeah, by the way, there's a 3-point contest. Oh yeah, by the way, there's Mac McClung and everybody else. So this to me was quite disappointing. Again, there was some highlights of the All-Star weekend. But yeah, I mean, just literally, this was a flash in the pan of disappointment. So I don't know what they're going to do next year. But side note, before I end it, if they bring back, and I saw these guys talking in the chat, if Mac McClung says yes to a fourth time, and then there's Ja Morant, and there is Zach LaVine, and there's Aaron Gordon, heck, I will pay for a ticket to go see that. If their knees hold up, if they got good knees and good hops still. Yeah, because we haven't, gentlemen, we have not seen a very competitive all-star slam dunk contest since 2016, in my opinion. And that was when LaVine and Aaron Gordon went at it. And the rules were skewed, and Dwayne Wade jacked it up. And that is the one reason I will never forgive that man, because Aaron Gordon should have won that year.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Any other thoughts on this? They just need to get rid of it, honestly, or they need to do something drastic.
I'll say this real quick. I think the new idea out there, which is not even a new idea, is what they did in the Rising Stars in the past, which makes the most sense. U.S. versus the world. Why aren't we doing that? I feel like that brings out the star power. You have the best from the U.S., the best from around the world. And that's something that Giannis has said that he would love to do. Wemby has said that he'd love to do. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, we can come together. That wild card Kyrie Irving, he's talking about, claiming his Australian citizenship so that he could do something like that. There's so much intrigue with a team with a format like that compared to what we saw on Sunday. Sunday wasn't the worst All-Star game, but it was far from the best. And I think, they have to find the happy medium somewhere because you don't want 211 to 186. I get that. But you also don't want an evening that's just surrounded by commercials. Like I spent more time watching SNL's 50th anniversary than I did the All-Star game itself because it's like you lost me there. And
way too many commercials and
Mhm.
announcements.
And I tell you this, and I know it was not intentional on their part, but the nonsense with the Spurs and the skills challenge kind of set the
Oh my
tone.
God.
That kind of set the tone for the whole weekend, just a little bit. Like how they sat there and actually tried to cheat the game. It's like you are literally doing what they've been trying to fight, which is like these star players cheating the game. That was just a microcosm of a bigger issue.
Yeah. And the U.S. versus the world is the obvious solution and should be.
Plus, you're seeing a preview of what's to come
of the
in
Olympics,
the upcoming
exactly.
Olympics.
Exactly.
That's what you're seeing. You got LA coming up in 2028. We want to see the future talent today of what the world is versus the United States, and why the United States men keep on dominating in the gold medals. What does the other countries have to offer us? Not only with their respectable teams, but again with the competition coming up in the next 3.5 years. That shows us what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to the Millie Goat Sports Podcast.
What up, Millie Goats? Oh yeah, that's gonna be a movie.
Yeah,
that's gonna be a movie.
Definitely. Yeah, I know it won't be a hit on too much, but I tell you, guys, get your popcorn ready. That's gonna be a good one for the.
How many fights can they break out besides 3? I want to see 5.
Okay. Yeah. So college basketball, we're gonna get this because we want to get some Gary Scripes in. So we're gonna stop at 9:50 because we gotta get him in on this Gary Scripes. But Auburn, SEC basketball is like the thing now for men's and women's. By the way, I mean, you look at the women with South Carolina, Texas. But on the men's side, you got Auburn, Alabama, Florida, and Tennessee all in the top 15. Absolutely dominating. You got Auburn and Alabama playing number 1, number 2. Auburn just absolutely took it to Alabama. Even though, it's just, I don't even know where to go with this one. I like, there's literally 11 teams that I think could make the tournament. And the fact that Kentucky is still having they're kind of having a mid type of year, but they're still a dangerous team that can make a deep run. Guys, SEC basketball, talk to me.
Yeah.
I haven't seen, and I'll let you both expand on that because I haven't watched a whole lot of SEC basketball. But I will say this, as far as Florida is concerned, I really haven't paid attention to Florida because the other teams have been more on the marquee than Florida. Florida has quietly been good. And it was surprising me because I had to, before going on with y'all tonight, I was like, Florida is really this good. And then I backtracked and I'm like.
And they beat Auburn.
Yes. And so, it's just like you said, kind of in a nutshell, Jeff, it's a mixed bag with this SEC conference. And it's proven right now that the SEC is not just about football, ladies and gentlemen. They got teams out there that can actually play some hoop. And it isn't about, and we can, like I said, before we even came on here, it's safe to say, and I'll pass it to y'all to expand on it. It's safe to say, I think there will be a new champion. It will not be UConn because UConn right now is trying to figure out how to play offense, defense, and learn how to make their shots count. And they're struggling with that, barely getting by Villanova today. So, but wow, SEC has proven that they're more than just a football conference.
Facts, definitely. Gary, your stats?
No, Gary said he's good on SEC. You meant to say Ben.
Ben, I'm sorry. And real quick, BYU is
Gary and Ben, they look alike,
Yeah, they look alike.
It's in the eyes. I get it. No worries. It's the eyes.
It's in the eyes.
So the SEC, 3 SEC teams in the top 4. Out of the top 7 teams, it's 5 SEC teams, which is crazy. Top 7 teams ranked AP poll, 5 are SEC teams, and a total of 9 in the top 25. That's crazy. It's insane the amount, the not the amount, how well the SEC has shown out so far in the basketball season. And we wanted to know, like, is it gonna be a thing where now we have to call the SEC a football and basketball conference? Is there sticking power? Is it a one season thing, or can this continue? And for me, a lot has to do with the coaches. Now, I didn't write down the coaches for every team, but out of those teams, Bruce Pearl, pretty damn good coach.
Mm-hmm.
Nate Oates, very good coach. Rick Barnes, very good coach. Buzz Williams. So those are 4 out of the top, those teams. Those are the coaches. Bruce Pearl, Auburn, Alabama, Oates, Barnes, Tennessee, Buzz Williams, I think Texas A&M. But like I think that there's sticking power. I think that the SEC is going to be, a very good basketball conference moving forwards because, frankly, I mean, there's just a lot of talent. There's a lot of good coaches in the SEC, and you got to imagine the success that they're having this year is going to make recruiting a little bit easier. Look at what we did. The success of the SEC teams this year is going to lead to probably more people going to, or maybe even some recruits switching to an SEC school. I mean, there's a good possibility. Now, it is a wide open field, so this could be, I feel like there's a possibility 3 SEC teams could be in the Final Four. And even with how great they are, there's a possibility there's 0 in the Final Four. But there's a legit possibility that the Final Four for the men's basketball tournament will have 3 SEC teams. And that's crazy to say in 2025, but this is where we are. And a lot of it has to do with the coaches. And I think that, the Kentucky, like you said, Jeff, they're 17th right now. Obviously, they have a new coach after Pitino. And I mean, not Pitino. After Calipari, that's what I meant to say. So they're doing well. I think that SEC basketball is here to stay. I think that they're going to be good.
It's wild when Nate Oates started off in Buffalo, and people thought that the lights were going to be too bright for him going from Buffalo to Alabama. Literally proving people
also
wrong.
Not forget that Coach Calipari, although it's a down year, is at Arkansas, and just give it a year. They will be.
Yep.
He put the foot stomp in Michigan, and Michigan was ranked at the time. They were ranked in the top 15, and Arkansas just.
Yeah, you're definitely. But all right. Gary's grapes. Let's have at it, Gary.
Yes.
Just go for it. My popcorn.
Cuddle up with your loved ones, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Gary's grapes.
Yeah.
I've been sitting on this one since the Super Bowl, and specifically, I'm gonna get on my stump as an angry Giants fan, and I'm gonna talk about Eli Manning. I have spent the time right now. I'm gonna read the name of 5 quarterbacks, their record, their stat line, like their yardage and all that. Dan Fouts is 86, 84, and 1 as a starter, threw for 43,040 yards. No championships. Warren Moon, 102 and 101, 49,325 yards. No championships. Joe Willie Namath, 62, 63, and 4, 27,057 yards, and 1 championship. Fran Tarkenton, 124 and 109, threw for 33,098 yards, was 0-4 in the Super Bowl. Sonny Jurgensen, 69, 71, 70, 32,224 yards, 1 championship. Those 5 men are already in the Hall of Fame. Eli Manning is 117 and 117 as a starter, although if you look at the final 35 games as a starting quarterback, he was 9 and 26. But 117 and 117 nonetheless. 57,023 yards. 2 championships, and yes, whether you like it or not, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Yet he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer. You look at the end of the Aikman, Young, Elway era of the 90s. There have been 5 quarterbacks that have won multiple Super Bowls since that era. So it's basically since 2000. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Patrick Mahomes, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. Drew Brees is going to be a Hall of Fame, first ballot Hall of Famer. He has 1 championship to his credit.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers.
I'm sorry to interrupt. This is going to help your case. The 2 Super Bowl runs, they were wild card teams, so that's 4 games each. So 8 games, obviously 8-0, 15 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
First career
and beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice.
Like, yes, and Brady is the current GOAT, but we beat the current GOAT and his team. We ended perfection, and then 4 years later, when the team was still better, that team that went 13-3 in 2011 might be more talented than the team that was 18-0 going into the Super Bowl. If you look at that team, look at that roster side by side, that 2011 team was probably far more superior than the 07 team. But I say that to say, what more did you want the man to do? He threw outdoors in the Northeast for 15 years. And yes, like, was he great at times? Was he a MVP candidate? No. But he was a level of consistency that you're not going to see in the NFL anymore. There's not enough patience for all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not sitting here as a Giants fan saying, oh, he needed to go in off those 2 Super Bowls. But if you're going to put Drew Brees in the Hall of Fame, if you're going to put Aaron Rodgers in the Hall of Fame, and Aaron Rodgers has seen, 2 NFC championship games since winning Super Bowl 45. If you're going to and he's going to go into the Hall of Fame first ballot. If we're going to put them in the Hall of Fame, then the Pro Football Hall of Fame has to relax his rule of not really putting in 2 quarterbacks in the same year. Eli Manning deserves his flowers, because if he doesn't get in now, who the hell knows when he will? But it's not fair and it's not right. And that's not me being a Giants apologist. That's me pulling up statistics and going, you put 5 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame. See, even my son Andre's upset about it. You put 5 quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that don't belong in there, or don't belong in there before Eli Manning does. I'm going to get off my stuff now, but I just laid out the statistics that say Eli Manning's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Because if Joe Namath can get in off of that 1 guarantee some 55 years ago, Eli Manning, he deserves to get in.
What's the format now, gentlemen? It's 3 modern day plus 1 senior now. So they only put in 4 because the rule has changed, I believe, since this is the first year of the new rule, where it's 3 modern day players and 1 senior, because it was Sterling Sharp was written in because he was past his eligibility. Right. And then the 3 that got in, Eric Allen, Jared Allen, and
Antonio Gates.
Antonio Gates. I do not like that rule. I hate that rule. I hate that it's going to be 4, because you look at next year, you got Larry Fitzgerald that's eligible now. You just say, is Breeze now eligible?
Breeze is going to be eligible.
Breeze is eligible. Next year is going to be stacked. And you're telling me you're basically taking the baseball rule. It's basically the baseball rule where you got all of these eligible players, and it's going to get reloaded every single year. So it's not even guaranteed for Eli to be on the 2nd ballot next year.
No, there's a better chance that he gets inducted 10, 15 years from now, which is BS, than he does just of his own merit. Because there's a lot, if you look at like who's coming down the line, there's a lot of talent that's going to be inducted in the next couple of years, because it was just the golden era. It was this recent golden era of players. Like, you're not.
It's outrageous.
Ben Roethlisberger is going to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. You don't think he's going to get in? He was a starting quarterback for the model of consistency that is the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can say his stats weren't all that great, but he was in the playoffs damn near every year that he was a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Eligibility for next year: Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Jason Witten, Frank Gore, Des Bryant, LaShawn McCoy, Greg Olsen, Julian Edelman, Marquise Pouncey, Phillip Rivers, Stephen Gostkowski, and Geno Atkins are all eligible for next year's Hall of Fame ballot. And you're telling me that it's going to be 3 modern-day players and one that has to be written in that's past the eligibility process. And this is what's going to be moving forward.
And isn't Adam Vinatieri he gets to come back as a finalist again because he just missed the cut this year or something like that?
Yes. And then you have other notable candidates: Todd Gurley, Thomas Davis, Alex Smith, Mike Iupati, and Jarrell Casey. But we're going to do only 4?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. And before we go, mind you, there was a stat that came out, Ben, I shared with you that Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles in his NFL career at 41 than he's had drops his whole career at 29.
Yep. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And Eli Manning is going to get in. Eli Manning's going to get in. It's going to happen. It's it's unfortunate. I think this has been a media-driven topic before he even retired, right? Like this was something, Gary, even you and I were debating before he even retired, right? So no one should be surprised that this has happened. It's very media-driven, unfair. He'll get in, but hey. But folks, it's been fun. And I just gotta say one thing, LeBron James, you're credit for what you did, by the way. I'm a fan of you, what you did. You taking a photo with your tools. You couldn't
anybody that thinks, and I am an admirer of Rob Parker. I really am. He gave me an opportunity to be on radio the brief time it was late last year. But he said nobody went up to him and said, hey, what you did was wrong. We could have given your spot to several other players. Nobody's going to walk up to LeBron James and say that to him. Who's going to sit there and say, Bron, there was people that could have played in your spot. Melo could have played in your spot. Sabonis could have played in your spot. Why didn't you, why did you do what you did?
He messed up. He messed up.
He messed up. But ain't nobody was going to say anything to him.
He still would have been an all-star. It wouldn't change anything. He just
and to be in the team photo, photo with the championship. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
Giannis put the uniform on. Giannis was selected, put the uniform on for the photo. Yep. But at least he put that on there instead of going in street clothes. Come on, be better.
But all right, folks, it has been fun. It has been great. Guys, I appreciate every single one of you. This has been a fantastic 3-year special. We got episode 150 coming up in a couple weeks, so we'll definitely get there. 150 episodes, but I say one thing, ups and downs, we skip episodes here and there, but 3 years is consistent. I think we've been more consistent than a lot of people, and we see a lot of people on Twitter come and go with shows. We've seen a lot, and we're going strong. So let's keep at it. But all right, folks. That is all. Until next time, check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and all that good stuff. Peace and love. Later. Take care. Take me.